Aaron, somebody snapped a picture at practice yesterday of you and Goody talking, and I'm just wondering if the communication between you guys is the same, better, worse than it was before?
Well, I think it's a work in progress for sure. I mean, I think, relationships aren't formed in a matter of a couple days. There's time where the respect grows and the communication follows.
That was August 4, Aaron Rodgers meeting with reporters early in training camp. September 1, General Manager Brian Gutekunst meets with reporters, and he was asked how things are going with his franchise quarterback. Let's have a listen to Brian Gutekunst from yesterday.
I've had really good conversations throughout camp with Aaron and Matt, and I think the communication has been really, really good. And so as we went into this kind of decision-making period, I think, everybody, all the people that are kind of involved in that were very aware of what was going on and why we were doing what we were doing. So I feel really good about that, and the conversations that I've had with Aaron have been excellent.
Now, I'm reluctant to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. There is a chance that this is one of those situations where the two parties to a conversation may have very different assessments of how it went. And I could see Brian Gutekunst walking away from a meeting or turning his phone off after a call and thinking, man, that went well.
Yeah.
And then I could picture Aaron Rodgers at the same time rolling his eyes saying, this guy he still doesn't get it. I could see that because it feels like the disconnect is so fundamental, you're not going to fix it in a month. And it's not going to be good conversations. It's going to be strained and awkward conversations for a while before you get to the point where you can feel like you had a good conversation with a guy who reportedly wanted you fired, although I don't believe that. But I do believe that there was a high level of dysfunction to the point where Aaron Rodgers considered his options about getting out, all because of the things coming from the front office. Not the team, not the players, not the coaches, not the fans, but the front office.
Yeah, I don't doubt Goody at all. Listen, I like Goody in all ways except for the way they've handled this situation. And I'm sure they have had a conversation. He's walked away, okay, that was good. But like Aaron Rodgers isn't a cheap date. He's not going to be like, oh, we had a conversation. We're friends now, and I'll do anything you say. No problem. Like, Aaron Rodgers. You could see he's not going to just be like, oh, we had a conversation. Things are all good and dandy now. I take him at his word there too. That yeah, it's a work in progress. Yeah, we've had some conversations, but, I think, not to put words in his mouth, but he's probably like, no, but Goody's not in, the trust tree with me yet here. We're not, best buddies and giving each other promise rings or anything, not anytime soon. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes. But it sounds like at least progress is being made there. To a degree.
I don't know. When Aaron Rodgers says work in progress, he doesn't say, well, it's a work in progress. He says, oh, that's a work in progress. That's a different message. When you're there's a work in progress for you. No, I don't think there's any bridging this divide. This is about finding a way to peacefully coexist so that the football team can go about its business. And Rodgers at some point said, and he's spoken so much publicly over the course of the last month, I can't remember when, where, or how, but the message I got from him was, it doesn't matter to me now that I'm in camp. Brian Gutekunst is not in the locker room. He didn't say that directly, but that was the message. My world is teammates and coaches, and that's why we said, Chris, when we had this pegged, no one else is going to pat us on the back, so we may as well do it once in a while. We both thought he's going to show up and he's going to deal with his frustration, and Mark Murphy and Brian Gutekunst just need to stay the hell away from the practice field, and if they choose to come close to it, wear a helmet and a cup, because you stay out of Rodgers' universe and they'll go 13-3 again. Well, I can guarantee you they won't go 13-3 because there's 17 games. They'll go 14-3 or 13-4. Just be done with it.
Yeah.
And accept the fact that you're not going to rebuild the bridge. The bridge is exploded. And the only question is how long Aaron Rodgers' career hangs in the air as the bridge has collapsed.
Yeah.
Is it another year? Is there a way he can play 2 more years with the Packers? That's the only question.
I don't disagree with you there. You're right. I mean, we said it from the beginning. Those are, like you said, Murphy, Gutekunst, they're up in the front office. Okay, maybe they're standing in the corner of the practice field there. He doesn't have to deal with them unless he really wants to. He likes the coaches and the players. That's all that matters at the end of the day when you're playing quarterback in football. I mean, man, most of the league is always wondering whether the front office likes him. It's just rare that, like, one of the greatest players in the history of football has to worry about that. But, the other thing that came to my mind, right, when I at least saw these comments was, Rodgers may be a little too, like, it's a work in progress. Who was the tight end that just got released the other day that he kind of said was having a great camp and doing those type of things? Who the hell was the guy? I'm blanking on the name that we talked about yesterday or the day before.
That guy.
That guy. Either way,
that guy
he obviously
really
had
liked
something positive about a guy who was having a great camp. I'll come up with it in a minute when I look at their roster for the preseason. But he obviously was trying to go to bat for him a little bit, and they released him. So he didn't have much sway in that conversation, and I did think, like, maybe that's, part of the reason why he's, well, yeah, we're having conversations. That's a start. Are they listening to me? Not really. Like, that's almost how I took it to a degree.
And this is the fundamental disconnect that cannot be resolved. Aaron Rodgers wants to be able to say, I want this guy, I want that guy, I want this guy, I want that guy. Gutekunst looks at it as the zero-sum game that it is. For every guy you want, I got to get rid of somebody. For every guy that you're lobbying for me to keep, that means I got to go get rid of somebody else at some other position on defense or elsewhere because I'm keeping this guy that you think's having a good camp. Well, this other guy had a better camp. That's why we're keeping him. This other guy is a bigger part of our future. That's why we're keeping him. And that whole thing with Clay Matthews, Rodgers has, based on the way he's talked about it publicly, he's confirmed exactly what I thought. They went out, they had a few drinks, and they decided, let's mess with Goody.
Yeah, right.
Let's mess with them.
Seems like that.
Let's start this movement to bring back Clay Matthews. Now, I'm reliably told they would have liked to have had him back. He would have come back with the right offer, but they all knew they're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. So let's go have some fun. Let's be impish. Let's cause some trouble. That's what that was. So it was a joke to the extent that the joke was on the front office because they were stirring up a storm that the front office was going to have to deal with. And they know they're not going to bring back Clay Matthews. And I'm still surprised they brought back Randall Cobb. But that's the disconnect. And for as smart as Aaron Rodgers is, Chris, I feel like he doesn't understand you don't have unlimited money. You don't have unlimited roster spots. You can't just bring in the older guys that the quarterback's comfortable with.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to think about building the team for the future. And, of course, that's how we got in this problem.
Exactly.
In the first place.
Yeah.
They're thinking about building for the future with a new quarterback.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's conversations. That's all you could say. That's all. I mean, to me, that's all that should happen. And I think that's what Aaron Rodgers wants. I mean, I'm with you in the fact that I think they were kind of messing with them or messing with the organization with the Clay Matthews thing, putting a little pressure on the situation. Yeah, they'd like to have him back. Rodgers he's smart. He knows the salary cap situations and all of that. But I think at the end of the day, it goes back to what we always talked about. It just seems like he had no say in anything, never was in any conversation about anything. And that's where I think, for lack of a better way to say it, is he's kind of butthurt over that. He's like, what the hell? I mean, the Colts talked to Peyton Manning when decisions were going to be made. They let him in on the conversation. He knew what was going on. They might not have listened to him. Even Brady, he knew what was going on. He might have been able to give us like, hey, I like this guy, or he does this really well, or all that. But they weren't going to listen to him. They were going to take it into account. And it sounds like that wasn't even happening in Green Bay, and that's where his frustration really lies.
I think that what happened was they were dismissive of him.
Right.
You just work here.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things he did say at that first press conference when he showed up and just basically aired out all the dirty laundry, said everything that was bothering him. You just play here. You aren't a coach. You aren't a GM. You aren't an executive. Instead of sitting down and saying, hey, Aaron, I know you got concerns about what we're thinking about doing here. I want you to understand. I'm going to take 5 minutes out of my busy day and explain to you why we're doing what we're doing. And I appreciate your input. We appreciate your perspective. And you know what? I hadn't thought of it that way. Hey, thank you, Aaron, for bringing that to my attention. I think it was more along the lines of, hey, man, I don't have time for you.
Yeah.
Don't you have like a
Don't
massage or a
quarterback.
lift to get in? You shouldn't be studying the play. Do your job. Do your job. And sometimes do your job works. Sometimes do your job doesn't work.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.